Well, the schedule has been released, not for the Oakland A's or for the Las Vegas A's or the Sacramento A's or the Kansas City A's or the Philadelphia A's, just the A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans. Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the podcast. We talk about your Oakland A's all year long. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. I'm going to be your host for this season right to the very end. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for a long time. This is my sixth full season here at Locked On. And normally I'm the host of Locked On MLB, but I'm going to be doing both for the rest of the regular season. Hey, follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And just a quick little note, today's show, which is being dropped on Thursday, the 8th day of August, is brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right. I'm recording this just as we have seen on the MLB.com app. This is actually being dropped in the middle of me recording another episode. And I said, you know what? Let's talk about this one, but let's talk about this one in separate episodes. The official schedules have been dropped throughout Major League Baseball. And if you will note, whenever a team is going to be playing the Red Sox, it will say like BOS on the schedule. Or if they're going to be playing the Yankees, it'll be NYY. That happens often. Or what they're doing when you're on the MLB site will just say at team name, at this, at that. Well, the A's home schedule, the schedule for the 2025 season has been announced. And this is going to be the year they are in Sacramento. Tickets are not yet available. Do you know how I know that? I tried to buy one. To be there for the first game in Sacramento. Now, chances are I'm just going to let you know a little bit of business. The chances are I'm not going to be the host of Locked On A's for next season. It's just a lot of work to do 10 podcast episodes a week. And you may have noticed I'm no longer a spring chicken. I am significantly older than anyone, I think, on the A's coaching staff. But maybe I'll do a guest spot there. But I want to be there for the first game of the Sacramento A's. And that is what I'm calling them. And you should too. By the way, the A's have the gall to put all these promotional videos, apparently because they know I'm a beloved podcaster of the A's. I'm in the algorithm and I'm getting all sorts of stuff for promos for the 2025 season. And it's of Stomper the Elephant. And I do not blame Stomper. But it's of Stomper the Elephant jumping up and down and dancing around Sacramento. I hope it wasn't during that day I was there, because the poor schmuck in the Stomper outfit would have lost about 45 pounds of sweat. By the way, I hope I didn't break the illusion to any of you who believe that Stomper is an actual elephant. But they are not embracing their Sacramento name, because they hope to only be that we're just passing through. We're just passing through. Well, so what if you're just passing through? A team has to play somewhere, and a team has to represent the fans of somewhere. How is this a difficult concept to understand? You're playing the game for the fans of a region to have a certain pride that their team won. The A's don't even understand that basic subatomic knowledge of sports fandom. Whether or not they're in Sacramento for only 3 years, which we both know they're there for longer than that, there is no way, zero way. Okay, maybe 1.0001. When you get a really good guess on Immaculate Grid, you get that obscure player who was only up for 3 games. You got your Tommy Hinzo for the 1987 Cleveland Indians, and boom, that's a tiny little minuscule one. Or Roger Lafrancois for the 83 Red Sox. Yeah, those are really good guesses on the Immaculate Grid. They get that tiny percentage. That's the tiny percentage that the A's will be playing in Las Vegas in 2028. Minuscule. Roger Lafrancois level. And if you don't know who Roger Lafrancois, guess what? That's the point. Tiny, real tiny. Dennis Quaid in Inner Space tiny. I'll keep dropping the references because they're, as I said before, there's no money, there's no support, and there's no approved design. Other than that, they've got everything set in Vegas. There's no way it's going to cost $1.8 billion. It will cost more. They will run out of money. I think they may already have run out of money. And they're going to be in Sacramento. I'm sorry, that's disrespectful. They'll be in Sacktown for, I think, the minimum 5 seasons. And they better start building those awnings now. But if you're going to be there, represent the team, represent the city. I'm not just saying this because I've been following the A's this year. And by the way, I'll let the record show, having a lot of fun doing it. I believe the A's have some decent pieces on their team moving forward. Shea Langoliers, Zach Galoff, Max Schumann, J.J. Bleday, Lawrence Butler. And if Jacob Wilson comes together and starts to play well, and Brett Harris plays well, you can look at a team. Now, their pitching staff has some issues, but if Hogan Harris winds up developing into a good starter, or J.P. Sears or Joey Esses continue to develop, and Mason Miller continues to be a good closer, there is an outside chance that this team could make great improvements and be a competitive team. And if you look at the history of the A's, at least since they've been in Oakland, they're not a bad team for very long. They won the titles in the mid-'70s. They had horrible teams in the late 70s. But by 1980, they were good again. And 81, they were back in the ALCS. They went on a little dip in the mid-'80s. But by the late 80s, it was the glory days of the A's. All the way through 92. After 92, things got a little rough. But by 1999, they're putting a winning product on the field again. And by 2000, they won on another great playoff run that took them right through the end of the 2000s. Things look rough at the end of the 2000s, but stop the presses. 2012, they're good again. They go on a great playoff run in 2012, 2013, 2014. Things fall apart. It's going to be a long time. If by a long time, you mean 4 years. They're back in the playoffs in 2018, 2019, and the COVID year. All right, we're in a rough stretch right now, but you're starting to see the pieces come together. Historically, the A's aren't bad for long periods of time. And they're going to be in Sacramento for a while. So if they make the playoffs, hell, if they go to the World Series, how is that less likely than the Rangers going from 100 loss in 2021 to World Series champions in 2023? What's it going to say? Let's say they defeat the Cardinals in the World Series. It'll say Athletics AL versus St. Louis NL. What if a player here makes it to the Hall of Fame? Are they going to have to put Athletics on the plaque? If you're going to play in Sacramento, say you're playing in Sacramento. Understand even the most basic preschool concept of fandom. I know the Fishers are idiots. They were born on the classic born on third base thinking they hit a triple. A guy who runs the A's is too stupid to see he would be a beloved folk hero and still a billionaire if he just paid for the money that he didn't earn to build a stadium in the parking lot of the Oakland Coliseum and call it Fisher Stadium with a picture of him dressed as Hercules with a freaking lion head, if that's what he wants. He could have done that. Instead, he is going to be remembered, if at all, he'll be remembered as one of the absolute worst owners in the history of American sports. And he could change that legacy by going to his available balance that he did not earn. He's too stupid to see that. I knew he was stupid, but I thought he may have understood what my dog understands about fandom. Fans of the team cheer the team and say, hooray for my city that has a championship team. Yeah. I just compared Fisher to my dog, and not in terms of how much I love my dog. Oh, no. But in terms of my dog's knowledge and ability to articulate basic things of fandom. And I do not take that lightly. But first, let's hear a little bit from our friends over at Game Time. Buying tickets. Let me tell you something. The A's, they're selling out the final game, mate. Let's keep going. The final game, so let's make that whole previous week. Get the seats. Let's sell out the Oakland Coliseum and use Game Time. It's an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. It makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices of the Game Time app go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices at views from the seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying baseball tickets. I know where I like to sit, especially at the Coliseum. The second deck, not field level, not way up there in the mountains. That second deck I really like. Got good shade, good views. I like to be behind home plate, but a little bit up the first base line. That's my favorite view of the Coliseum. Boom, I use the zone deals. I find that zone, and it comes up with the best deal from that zone. And do I check out the seat? You bet I do. I got a panoramic view from the seat in the app before I buy. And go ahead and do that, because for those last bunch of A's games, it's not going to be like a game against the White Sox where there's plenty of seats available. And you want to have Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, the lowest prices. Do you know what they are? I'll tell you exactly what they are. They're guaranteed. Oh, dear. You know what it's time to talk about? I'll tell you what it is. I just want to thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen, a little more of me. Check out Locked On MLB. I'm here to provide every day my point of view of the national game, and I do it the way that I like to. I do it with a love of the game, but I have some fun along the way, and hopefully you have some fun along the way too. Oh, listen to me articulate on Locked On MLB, where I get you ready for the Major League Baseball playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the classic with me, your pal Sully. I have it covered every day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All right, I have the schedule up in front of me. An interesting thing about it is the Oakland A's are going to die in Seattle. What do I mean by that? I have a ticket to the final A's game. It's on a Thursday day. It's a Thursday day game, and it's going to be packed. It's going to be probably bittersweet but lovely. But that's not the end of the season. They're then going to go to Seattle and finish the season up in Seattle. So the final moments of the Oakland A's are going to be in the Pacific Northwest. And it's going to be a little bit like Schrodinger's cat. Like, are they the Oakland A's or are they the Sacramento A's? Who knows? They're just going to be this floating vapor. They're just going to be like, they're wearing the invisibility cloak from Hogwarts. It's going to be Bilbo putting on the ring and disappearing. I'll keep throwing these movies references at you all day long. So there'll be a weird phantom team. Well, guess what happens in 2025? The opening day for the new A's, and let's call them the Sacramento A's, will be in Seattle. The Oakland A's will die in Seattle, and the rebirth will be in Seattle. It'll be March 27th. We're starting the season earlier than normal, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I like that. Start it there. Started warm weather seasons and domes a couple of weeks earlier. Fine by me. But they start the season with 4 games in Seattle. The team that ended Oakland, Sacramento, who knows, they are going to be a phantom team. 4 games in Seattle, and then it happens. Then the reality kicks in. The A's, not the Oakland A's, not the Sacramento A's, evidently, will play the Chicago Cubs on March 31st, 2025 in Sacramento. The nanosecond tickets are available. Your pal Sully is buying it. I'm going to be there. And do you what? If that's a day game, that's probably not going to be too terrible. It's March, so it's not going to be like, the game I was at, which was blazing hot. Then they're there at March 31, April 1, April Fool's Day, which, by the way, just tangentially, I hate April Fool's Day. I hate April Fool's Day. I hate practical jokes. I hate pranks. April Fool's Day is amateur hour for jokes. But April Fools on they'll be playing the Cubs on April 1 and 2. And there you go. Then they'll be there. I'm going to be there that series. In fact, I may be, if that's my week off, because I have a week off in the spring, if that's my week off, I'm going to be at all 3 games in Sacramento. I'm going to be at least one of them. All right, let's go through some of the other interesting games along the way. The first weekend series in Sacramento will be the 11th, 12th, and 13th when the Sac A's meet the Mets. And then the next weekend they're playing the White Sox, and who knows what condition the White Sox will be in. The Yankees come to town on the weekend of May 9th through 11th. The first time that the A's will be playing the Giants under their new guys will actually be in Oracle Park. The Giants will host the homeless A's on the 16th, 17th, and 18th of May. Imagine how weird it's going to be. Okay, so let's go through this, because eventually the Giants are going to be playing the A's. And how weird is it going to be for a player who was just recalled from Sacramento to join the Giants to then go play the A's in Sacramento? I still can't believe they haven't done my super simple solution. Giants AAA team, Fresno. Rockies single A team, Lancaster. You're not sharing a minor league team and a major league team in the same ballpark. Okay, they go through a long road trip at the end of June. Then 4th of July. Okay, here we go. Oh, dear God. The 4th of July is going to be Giants A's, which should be a packed house in July. For the love of everything holy, tell me all 3 of those games are night games. They have a lot of home games going on in the month of July. I wonder, when do they play the Red Sox? Then in September, they play the Red Sox in September. The Red Sox come to town in September, and then they finish the season on September 28th against the Kansas City Royals. So there you go. There's your schedule. I mean, it's available on the site, ironically, at the Oakland A's website. But there you go. Starting the season in late March against the Cubbies. And we're going to see if this is a little bit of, okay, are we really doing this? Are we really doing this? And if we are, All right, then. Then let's dust ourselves off and see what we got, because I really am not buying it. I'm going to see what happens, but I'm rooting for the best. And let me know if you think you're going to be heading to Sacramento for those first bunch of games. Let's hear a little bit from our friends over at Supply House. You know what Supply House is, don't you? Supply House is where you can order supplies from the website that's made for skilled trades. Find thousands of parts from hundreds of brands in just a couple of clicks at supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com gives you 24/7 access to a huge selection of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with fast deliveries anywhere in the U.S. Need help with an order? Get industry-leading after-sales service from their friendly and knowledgeable customer support team. Talk to a real person every time. And there's great news for plumbers, technicians, and contractors. Being a pro has its perks. Trade industry professionals can join their free Trade Master program for free shipping and serious discounts on every order. Over 100,000 pros already trust the Trade Master program to deliver results. Apply for your membership today and get a competitive edge on every order at supplyhouse.com/TM. Save money and time when you order online. Order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service at supplyhouse.com. Hey, here is a reminder that you should be listening to me, your pal Sully, as your first and second listen. Locked On A's is your first listen, and check out Locked On MLB for your second listen. Prepare for the Fall Classic with me. I've got to cover it every day, and you can find the link to Locked On MLB in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and it's your team every day. Hey, just going back in time a little bit here, a couple of things happened on this day in A's history, and both of them involve streaks. And both of them involve interesting streaks at two very different points in A's history. In 1916, the A's set an American League record with their 19th loss in a row. Interesting that this one comes off right at the heels of the White Sox series. The streak began on July 25th, making a record for losses in 2 weeks. Now, one of the reasons I bring that up is the whole idea of the A's aren't, the A's have had an entire history of going up and down. 1916, lest we forget, the A's won the World Series in 1910, in 1911, in 1913. 3 out of 4 years. And they won the pennant in 1914, they won the pennant. So in 10, 11, 12, 13, in 5 years, they won 4 pennants and 3 World Series titles. And then the next year, the team was blown up. Now, I have a bunch of theories about why Connie Mack blew up that great team. I do think a lot of it had to do with the rival Federal League. I do think the fact that the A's were swept in such a dynamically upsetting way in 1914 with knowledge of how much gambling was going on back then. There's been more than one source that indicates that maybe, just maybe, the A's weren't playing 100% on the level in 1914, and Connie Mack was so angry he basically blew the team up. So much so that by 1916, they were the worst team in baseball. Dynasty to worst team. Does that sound familiar? Seems to be part of the way. But do you know what Connie Mack did? He did what he always did, which was basically rebuild the team faster than you could imagine. And next thing you know, by the late 1920s, they were so good that they beat out the Yankees in 3 straight years for the pennant. And this is the Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig era of the Yankees. But that's what Connie Mack did. He built up great teams in the early 1900s, tore them down, built them up in the 1910s, tore them down, built up in the 20s, it spilled over to the 30s, tore them down. And if he quit then, it would have been great. But he kept trying to do it way past his prime. And Connie Mack did not pull a Joe Biden, did not step aside. Because if he did, the A's would still be in Philadelphia, and the Phillies would be the one wandering around creation. But that was an example. They had great teams, and boy, oh boy, they fell on their face. 1992 was another streak, and this was of a successful year. Dennis Eckersley, you may remember the Eck. Eck won the MVP and the Cy Young Award in 1992. No way that would happen today. But actually, the value of a reliever, quiet. Eck had a great year. And that year, he had a consecutive saves record. And it ended on this day in 1992. He had 40 straight consecutive saves, and he had 36 saves to start a season, 40 straight over the 2 seasons. And he was trying to protect a 2-1 lead in the 9th inning against Kansas City. But with 2 outs, he led up a 2-run single to Greg Jeffries, and it gave the Royals a 3-2 lead. But the A's came back with a walk-off homer in the 9th inning to win it 5-3. Eck did not get the save. He did indeed get the win. But today is a day of 2 very different streaks, one of losses and one of consecutive saves ending. And soon it will be consecutive years in Oakland with the A's. So there's your schedule, folks. Look it over. And let me know how many of you are going to go over there. How many of you are going to be supporting the Sacramento A's? Let me know right down here on YouTube. Also follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about the schedule and realizing this move may just really happen, at least to Sacramento. This has been Locked On A's for the 8th day of August, 2024. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.